Welcome to another episode of Culinary Alchemy, and I am your alchemist, Cassie H. And today we are making flourless chocolate souffles with raspberry sauce. Yay! So as always, I will post a list of allergens over here. Now, souffles are persnickety. They're goofy, and it's all about incorporating air from the eggs to make them puff up. If they don't puff up, it's because you've overmixed everything at the end. But we're going to get to that later. As long as you're very careful and you follow the directions, you'll be just fine. So, here's what you need. For the raspberry sauce, we've got just frozen raspberries and sugar. Now, for the actual souffles themselves, we've got 3 eggs, powdered sugar for dusting at the end, butter for buttering the ramekins, sugar, this is split up, I've got 4 tablespoons and then a tablespoon and a half, because you need them in 2 different steps. 4 ounces by weight of semi-sweet chocolate. Now you can use chocolate from a bar, you can use a knife and chop it up, or do what I did and buy chocolate chips. Either way it works really well. 3 tablespoons of milk. You'll also need your stand-up mixer. You'll need a pot, non-reactive, probably stainless steel, not aluminum, icky. And probably at least 2 or 3 spatulas. Let's start! Alright, to begin, you're going to take your milk and your sugar, mix them together real quick. Ah, it's a paste. Look at that. And you've got your sauce pot. Mine happens to plug in. Put this over medium heat. You're going to add your sugar and milk mixture. I suppose you could mix it in the sauce pot, but if you've already got it on medium heat, you should probably mix it beforehand. And you're going to mix this together over the heat, stirring constantly until your sugar dissolves. Until it no longer sounds or looks grainy. Depending on how fast your stove heats up, this could be a few minutes or a few seconds. Just keep looking over it. And by the way, I used the 4 tablespoons of sugar in this. My camera lady reminded me I forgot to say. Bad, Cassie. This is almost done. You can see it's still just a tiny bit grainy. And when it's done being all grainy, we're going to add in the chocolate, and then we're going to stir it until it gets all melted like. At the beginning stages of your souffle, don't leave this for anything at all, because it will burn and then you'll have to start all over. That's not fun. Almost there. There we go. All right. Graininess gone away. So we got our 4 ounces of chocolate by weight. Put it in here. Stir until it's all melted. As you can see, my chocolate is almost completely melted. Give it another few seconds. And like I said, don't leave this for anything. Chocolate likes to burn for no reason whatsoever. So keep over it. And I'm using a silicone spatula, by the way, to stir this. Silicone is a material that it's got a very high melting point. It's like 500 something degrees, I think. So as long as you don't leave it in your oven, it's not very likely you're going to burn your spatula while you're cooking. So that's a good thing. Unplug this because the chocolate is exactly how I want it. Scrape my pot out into a glass dish. This is an oven-proof dish, so it's not going to shatter on me when I do this. Unless you pulled it straight out of the freezer. If you did that, then probably use metal. For all the souffle steps, you're going to want to make sure you're using non-reactive dishes. So basically glass or stainless steel. Don't use aluminum. That's a horrible thing. All that chocolate out is to waste chocolate is a horrible thing to do. Alright. So let this sit about 5 minutes to cool down. There we go. Okay. While that's cooling, let's move some dishes out of the way, huh? Alright, we're going to separate our 3 eggs. So, I've already washed these eggs. This helps if they're at room temperature. If you're like me and you don't put your eggs in the fridge, you're one up. If you put your eggs in the fridge, just leave them out on the counter or in a bowl for like an hour, and they'll get to room temp pretty quickly. I also wash these because they are farm fresh eggs. I get these from my cousin like every other week, so they're always really fresh. Try, if you buy eggs at the supermarket, reach to the very back. That's where the freshest eggs are going to be, and then you'll have a better looking, more resilient souffle. So you take your egg. Now some people do an eggshell to eggshell method. This is why we have a separate bowl. I myself don't mind using my fingers. I put my yolk in one, and your white in the other. Now for this recipe we only need 2 yolks, but we need 3 whites. Oh no! If that happens like it just did to me, just reach out and gently scoop up the egg yolk. There we go. So that's why we're using a 3rd bowl. And also, if your yolk ruptures in here, you're not going to contaminate all those whites you already got. So we got everything separated. I've got my extra yolk just in this dish here. And you can freeze actually this yolk if you don't need it now. You can use it in a dish later that uses yolks and not whites. You could eat scrambled eggs, which is probably what I'm going to do with it. You can put it into a smoothie since they're pasteurized or unpasteurized. But either way, we've got separate stuff now. We've got our 2 yolks and 3 whites. Once this is cooled off, about 3 more minutes, I'm going to stir in those yolks to make it nice and thick and beautiful. So the chocolate mixture is pretty well cooled. Why you cool it for 5 minutes is so that when you incorporate your egg yolks, you don't get scrambled eggs. Because we're not going for scrambled eggs, we're going for souffles. So we've got our 2 egg yolks here. Just spoon them in with your clean spatula. Mix it all together. And this is going to make the chocolate mixture really thick. It was already thick, but this is going to make it even thicker. That's what egg yolks do. Egg yolks have all the fat. Mix these together. So it's beautiful. Much less likely to just sit and not do anything. There we go. Alright, set this aside for now. Just put it right there. In the meantime, we have our wonderful stand-up mixer. To this bowl, which by the way I have the whisk attachment. Whiskey? If you feel kind of unsure about your mixer abilities, put on your shield if it has one. If not, you could put aluminum foil. I'm pretty sure of what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to go with that. Commando, as it were. So I've got my 3 egg whites. I'm going to add them to my bowl. Crank up the bowl, and I'm going to whisk them together until they are foamy. Foamy whites. Now, at this point, I have my remaining 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. Now, I could just dump this in there, but you've already started incorporating some air into the whites. That's why they're bubbling. So just dumping this in would completely ruin all the volume you're trying to build. But you need sugar to make the proteins more stable so they'll turn into stiff peaks. So what do? You sprinkle in some, and you get it kind of close to your whites. They're going to deflate some, there's no helping that. So you crank your bowl back up after you put in your sugar, and we're going to beat this until stiff peaks form. Now I'm going to stop at each time and show you what the different peaks look like. But it's going to take you a few minutes, so patience, lots of patience. Here's is soft peaks. Actually, it's closer to medium. It's between medium and soft. The soft peak, when you put it up, it'll start curling pretty quickly. Medium peak will sort of keep its composure. Yeah, it will sort of keep its composure, but it won't stand up straight when you hold it. A stiff peak will. So this says a bit like 2-3 more minutes. And bear in mind, there is a difference between, or there's a very 30-second difference between stiff peaks and ruined. So at this point, you would want to keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't go over. So let's make these peaks stiff. Stiff peaks. And to double check, stir it up some, pull it up. Look at that peak. That's, and yes, by the way, this is a meringue. How kind of you to notice. And this is what will give your souffle that rise and makes it not a soufflat. So, let me grab a big bowl and I'll show you how it's done. Big bowl acquired. All right, so take your spatula, just the last one you used is fine. And you're gonna pour your chocolate mixture in the bottom of this. Now, my dears, I'm going to teach you how to fold. I'm not talking about laundry, I'm talking about with eggs and chocolate. Now, the important thing in this part is to not overmix. All right, we've got only so many egg whites. This would take a few minutes to remake. We don't have time to remake it. So we're going to, we got this here. You're gonna start in thirds. So you take your spatula, look at your egg white mixture, kind of divide it in your head into a third. Take a third of it, a little bit more than that. All right. Now this is the one part of this that you could actually just mix. Right now you're making the chocolate mixture lighter, fluffier slightly. So just mix it so that when it takes the rest of the egg whites, it won't completely destroy all the volume. There. Looks good. All right. From here on, we're folding. You are going to be very careful with this egg white mixture. It will die very quickly. So with the remaining egg whites, kind of divide it into thirds. So I'll take this bit here. Gently, don't just plop that, that would be horrible manners. All right, to fold, you take your spatula. You're gonna draw a line down the center and then flip it over. Quarter turn, draw a line, and flip. See that? My God, you're folding. Or I'm folding, either way. Very good. And make sure you try and scrape the bottom when you fold that. Give it a few more folds. There. I know there's white streaks, it's okay. You're gonna get rid of some of them, but not all of them. All right, so take another portion of this here. A bit more than that portion. And that's not quite a third. The spatula is not one to agree with me today. All right, come on, there we go. Draw your line and fold very carefully so as to not ruin all that beautiful foam. There's that. Last portion. Scrape it all out of there. There. All right. Just a few more. Trying to get this biggest clump. All right. See that? Yeah, guess what? Don't touch it anymore. No more stirring, no more touching. We are done with that. Completely. Leave it alone. I'm serious. So we're going to preheat our oven to 375 degrees, and then we're going to get our ramekins prepped. So I'll show you how to do that. Alrighty, we have ramekins. Now you could make this in one big souffle dish if you have one. I do, but I kind of like the idea of individual ramekins instead. So, ramekins, I have 4 of these. This ought to fit it pretty nicely. So you take a stick of butter, unwrap it slightly. That way you've still got wax to hold on to, but you've got butter. And just kind of put some butter all up the edges of your ramekin. This is kind of for non-stick, but it's mostly just to give sugar something to hold on to. There we go. This is time consuming, but not as time consuming as what you just did. And it's super worth it, so stop complaining. Buttered dishes. So, we got our sugar here. I'm just going to reach in with a spoon, find some that's not clumpy. Deposit it in your dish. Then, pick up the dish. Just shake it around. Make sure all the sides are sugared. This will give you that extra sweetness in your souffle that you totally didn't have before. It'll also give the souffle something to grab onto as it's climbing the sides of your dish. So it has a practical purpose as well as just being dang awesome. And if you run out of sugar, that's why you keep your sugar out. See how lovely that looks. Said all the gorgeous, pretty, and all that kind of stuff. All right, keep your same spoon out. Just spoon out your souffle mixture. I suppose you could use a disher, but this is what I'm using. And this here, I'm kind of using these lines as a guide. Just fill it up till it's about 3/4 of the way full. I have more ramekins laid out in case I've overestimated my amount or underestimated. In case I need more. And yes, I know there are white streaks rather, but that's okay. Think of it as extra oxygen. Or insurance against your souffle going flat. Soufflat. Allie said that before we started filming, and that's going to be in my head for days now. Thanks, Allie.
You're welcome.
As you can see, I had enough for 3 souffle dishes, or ramekins. The 4th one, you could lick the butter out, or you could make more souffles. I vote for making more souffles. So these go into your oven at 375 for about 25 minutes. Each souffle is different. Now, when you check on your souffles, I have something very important to say. Do not open that door. That will let out all the cooking air and steam, and your souffle will pop down immediately. If you want it to look even mildly fluffed up when you serve it, don't touch it. Just kind of gauge it by eye. When you see it puff up, maybe 2 inches, then it should be ready. And you serve it pretty close to immediately. So let's pop these in. See that? They've got at least 2 inches of clearance, probably 2.5. Put my timer back up to 25 minutes. Now that does not get opened again until they are done at all. For the raspberry sauce, we're going to start with a simple syrup. Well, actually, we're going to start plugging in my sauce pot. And it's still on medium heat, so that's good. So, for a simple syrup, you use 1 part water, 1 part sugar. That could be 1 tablespoon of water to 1 tablespoon of sugar to 1 cup and a cup that's what I'm using. Got a cup of water, a cup of sugar. Rah! You mix this together until the sugar dissolves. Like we've done this before. Have we? I think we have. So, we got our sugar. It's almost completely dissolved. By the way, the water is brownish because I used unbleached sugar. That's right, guys. They bleach your sugar so it's white. So, I got, alright, yep. All nice. Dissolved. Raspberries. I'm just going to use this whole thing so that it tastes like raspberries, not like raspberries. So, these I've had on the counter for about an hour, so they're pretty well thawed out. There's still a few hardish chunks, but for the most part, just put that in there so it doesn't stain my countertop. So now, I'm going to let this cook for a while. Let it boil once and then turn it really low and let it just kind of infuse for a few minutes. Look at that, guys. They are almost completely ready. I'm going to give them another minute or two so that I can set my stuff up. That is a souffle, the opposite of a soufflat. Yay! So, oh dear. So we've got this. It just boiled, so I'm turning it off. And here I've got just a ceramic pour spout thing. I'll come up with a name later. That I've put a small strainer into. I'm going to pour this gently in. I also turned down the heat on my souffles to about 300 degrees. That way it'll give me a bit more time to finish this up. Because once you pull the souffles out, you have 2 minutes to serve them before they flatten out. Nothing wrong with, a flattened souffle after it's already puffed up. But we want to use those 2 minutes wisely. And that right there is exactly why we have a strainer. That is entirely seed. No, thank you. Just got that measuring thing I used earlier. So use that to carry my waste. One more. Alright, so they deflated a little bit. That's okay though. What I get for not planning ahead. 1. So, probably when you've got ramekins, only about 10-15 minutes tops. There we go. The nice thing about ramekins is you can just serve them in these ramekins here. I've got the raspberry sauce. We strained out the berries and put them in there. I also have powdered sugar here. I'm going to sprinkle on top once I open it. Now if you're not going to sift your powdered sugar beforehand, make sure it has something right here where it's a super fine 12X confectioner's sugar. That means it's been sifted 12 times before you put it in here. That's what you use to make confections. So, yep, see how they're already going down? And that is chocolate flourless souffle with raspberry sauce. Thanks for tuning in today. Really appreciate you guys viewing this video. As always, the subscribe button is up here. Give us a thumbs up. And down below, I'm going to post the recipe and also give us comments. What do you think we should make next? I'm going to put an annotation over here when I decide what I'm making next week because I haven't decided yet. So, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye!